We're just ordinary people living ordinary lives until we see someone on TV win a $25,000 prize. Come on down. I'll play any game for 10 seconds of fame. Come on down. I'll make a deal, just let me spin the wheel. Come on down. To win $1 million, all you need is a little luck and thorough knowledge of multiple disparate trivial subjects.
All right, welcome to an all-new episode of Come On Down, the game show podcast, hosted remotely by us in two separate places, because this is the future that we live in now.
I'm in the future as well.
Right, that's a we. This is the future that we live in, implying both of us.
Okay, right, yeah, but nobody else in society, just us.
Yes, we are the only two people living in the future who have this sort of crazy capabilities, I guess.
Okay, got it.
So welcome to an all-new episode of Come On Down, the game show podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about a game show.
And before you continue, I would like to give a hint to the audience.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so the show we're going to be talking about is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Me.
Okay.
Let me be a millionaire.
All right, you won.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Episode over. We will see
That's
you
how it
guys
works.
next week for Who Wants to Be Richer by $10. Was not quite as popular as Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah, that one, they're still trying to work out the kinks. I think revive that somewhere along the way. But yeah. So before we hop all the way into the recording, my mic is like a flaccid, it's a flaccid situation over here.
I cannot see you, but I trust you that you do have a flaccid mic.
What do you mean?
Isn't that what you said? You guys said you're a flaccid mic situation?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm trying to fix it while still remaining on air here.
Riveting content.
Do we have a sponsor for today?
We do have a sponsor for today. I hope you read over it because it's going to be one of the more complicated scripts that our sponsor sent to us.
You did tell me to read over it.
Mm-hmm. I noticed you said you did tell me to read, not I did read over it.
You did tell me to, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Correct. Got it.
But I thought it would be more fun.
Okay.
For the audiences at home if we just hopped right in.
I mean,
and then we'll see what happens.
Okay, sounds good. I will start. You go ahead and let me know when your mic is at attention.
My mic is good. It's standing at attention.
Okay, got it. Hey Baker, what do your farts sound like?
Oh, just the classic two hams slapping against each other in a strong wind.
Mine too. It's awkward and embarrassing. But that all changes today because our sponsor has a revolutionary product. The Butt Sound Transformer underwear.
I love these underwear. They're comfortable, and they transform my farts into a myriad of fun sounds, fun movie quotes, popular 80s songs, and iconic presidential speeches.
I've got one locked and loaded. Here we go.
Are you doing a fart thing right now?
Yep. Oh, just let it out.
All right, my turn.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I did it.
Now, farts become fun conversation starters, not stoppers.
Thanks to Butt Sound Transformer underwear, our listeners get 20% off their first order and the option to record a personalized message for their pair of Butt Sound Transformers.
I think you're a good friend, and I like podcasting with you, friend. Friendship.
Wow. Check out their website. That's musictomybutt.com.
Wow, that's an interesting little
product.
Mm-hmm. That's the word I'm looking for there.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I thought it meshed well with the show. It wasn't quite as intrusive as our last sponsor, which that sponsored that company to go out of business.
Oh no, another of our sponsors went out of business.
Right. Yeah. The end.
What are the odds?
The end of the PVC pipe, they weren't sanding it down. It wasn't a smooth surface, and people.
Oh
sued
no,
yeah.
I could see that being an issue.
Yeah, it was a bad situation. But this sponsor should be in business because they've got a cool product that revolutionizes toots from your poot.
Yeah, can't see this going poorly. So today, as we mentioned, we're not doing a Bloomhouse original game show that only had 12 career episodes.
Yeah, quite the opposite, actually.
Speaking of Bloomhouse, I watched a Bloomhouse film last night.
What was it called?
Freaky. The Vince Vaughn body swap serial killer comedy horror.
I did not see it. Was it good?
It was pretty good. You know, it's like Vince Vaughn tries to murder a high school girl and they swap bodies. And so then there's a high school girl serial killer and Vince Vaughn is a high school girl.
Wow.
And if you're wondering, does Vince Vaughn make out with a high school boy in this movie? Oh, I guess you'll just have to tune in to find out.
Oh, no.
Because I don't want to spoil anything. But yes, he does.
So does that mean the high school boy is gay?
No, because he is making out with somebody who identifies as a high school girl. I don't know why this is difficult for you to understand.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll take your word for it. Interesting. I don't want that question answered, but I might check that movie out. It sounds like it's an interesting watch.
Yeah, it's fun. Vince Vaughn as a high school girl is fun. It's like, you know, it's a little derivative of Jack Black in Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle.
Okay.
Which, I mean, was also a very funny performance, so I'd say it's worth checking out.
Got it.
Anyway, this isn't a Bloomhouse original with 12 episodes. This is a British original that we took, and we gave it like almost 4,000 episodes so far. So this is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And you're familiar with this show, right?
I mean, it's one of the most iconic game shows, I would say, in American history, behind, you know, Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, maybe. But yeah. This is a game show I specifically remember watching with my family.
Yeah, this was a big craze when it came out. We'll obviously get into all of that. To give you a little bit of behind the origins of the show, it started in, it was British. It was kind of the same, but with funny voices.
Right, and they would say, thank you.
And their money is also all different.
And fake. People don't know that, but the pound is a fake currency.
In what sense?
It doesn't exist. I've never seen it, so that's how I know the pound itself as an object in this material world does not exist. Have you seen a pound?
I like a dollar or like a note. What do you mean? Like a coin, a note? I've been to England where they use them.
Did you see it with your eyes?
Did I see it with my eye? Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the pound does not exist.
I mean, hey, I can't, verifiably disagree with you because maybe I was seeing something that just confused me, but I thought that it was a pound.
Okay.
So this show, like I said, it premiered in the UK in September 1998. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? The winner, of course, could win £1 million. And at that time, in September of 1998, just to let you know, $1 was worth 0.59 British pounds. So that's like, $1.8 million or so.
Wow.
Something like that. So it's a lot of money. And of course, we talked about previously how up until like 1990 in the UK, you weren't allowed to win more than £1,000 on a game show.
Yeah, it's a
so
hard
they
jump.
really kind of upped the stakes really, really big.
It's kind of like, it's similar to when, a pastor's daughter or, a boy, a son who wasn't allowed to watch R-rated movies or hang out with friends goes to college, and you go from 0 to
you go
100
wild
real quick.
You go from having sucked 1,000 dicks to having sucked 1,000,000 dicks real fast.
Right. Yep.
Is that what you mean?
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my dad was a pastor, so I know.
Uh-huh.
And so it premiered on ITV in September of 1998. It was hosted by Chris Tarantino. And
Love
I
his
don't
films.
think
This
this was before Kill Bill, but after Reservoir Dogs.
Okay. Yeah.
So this was kind of, I guess, his gap. But he did host it until 2014, despite all the controversies about the N-word in Django Unchained.
Okay, cool.
Chris Tarantino hosted it until it went off air in the UK in 2014. It came back in 2018, hosted by Jeremy Clarkson, who you might be familiar with from shows such as Top Gear in the UK. That's that one about the cars.
Right, yeah. And that is the one where the planes fly and a goose is killed in one of the engines.
Okay, so you are kind of conflating Top Gun with that, but an interesting childhood telephone game retelling of the plot of the film Top Gun.
Right, and which is the part that the goose dies?
That's in the spoiler part. That's when Vince Vaughn makes out with the high school boy.
Got it.
Right,
and that is right after he realizes that he asks the orphan to go buy a goose for everybody for Christmas.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It was big in the UK, obviously. We are not super concerned about the UK version because, I don't know, they could have two British people doing a game show, talk show, but they don't. So this is our thing. You missed your opportunity.
Yeah.
But the name of the game, so it was originally going to be called like Money Mountain, which is a dumb name.
It's good alliteration, but it's a bad name.
Yeah, I mean, I get it because you're kind of climbing up each of the levels with the way that the dollar amount increases.
Right.
But they ended up taking the name from a Cole Porter song from the movie High Society, starring Frank Sinatra and I think Bing Crosby, and that chick that died. She was like
Amy
she was
Winehouse?
one of those Amy Winehouse. She was one of those like royalty type of people,
Princess Diana.
No, but kind of like Princess Diana, but before her, in like the 60s.
Mother Teresa.
No, I think you're thinking of Hitler.
I'm not.
Grace Kelly. I think that was her name.
Okay.
Grace Kelly. She was a duchess or something like that. She was a princess of Monaco. There you go. But she was in the film as well. And there was a song in it called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I thought it's kind of ironic because the whole game show is about who wants to be a millionaire. Do you want to be a millionaire? I want to be a millionaire. It's about, wanting to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
The song, however, in context is kind of the opposite. It's kind of like, oh, who wants to be a millionaire? Like, that sounds dumb. I've got all this other stuff. Who wants to be a millionaire? That's kind of what the song is like.
What's the other stuff that they have?
You, basically. I think it's like, I've got you. Why do I need to be a millionaire? It's,
Ugh.
What do you mean? You would trade your wife for $1 million? Are you saying that right now on air, live?
Your mic cut out. What did you say?
Are you trading your wife for $1 million?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Will you commit to that? Will you commit to that right now? Who wants to be a millionaire?
I would love to answer whatever question you're asking. I'm sure it's a good one, but I cannot hear you. Maybe if you continue to talk about something else, I might be able to get the connection back.
Okay, so I guess we'll move on. It was a Cole Porter song from the film High Society that they got the name from. Did you hear all that?
Yeah, no, I hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Would you trade your wife for $1 million?
I'm sorry. The second you tried to ask whatever question or statement you said, it cut out again.
Okay. So anyway, this show was then adapted for the people who matter, Americans, in the following year, 1999. So you got to remember, this is a pre 9/11 world. Everything was different then.
Yeah.
There was no TSA.
There's no body scans.
Yep.
You could fly planes close, like people would fly planes around, like right around the Twin Towers,
just doing like stunts and stuff like that.
Yeah, like Red Bull stunts. But actually, this
Yeah.
is probably pre-Red Bull stunt days too.
Yeah, we weren't racist against Muslims yet.
Yep.
It was a simpler time. It was a better time, quite frankly. I said it.
Yeah.
So Who Wants to Be a Millionaire premiered in the U.S. on ABC in September of 2019. Or sorry, August of 2019.
Okay.
God damn it, of 1999.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was last year.
That was last year. That was no, it was 2 years ago now. It's 2021. But
No,
of
don't
August
do that bullshit. It was last year.
1999, hosted by Regis Philbin, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm. That was his
He
full
died.
name.
He died last year, which was 2020. I think, right?
I mean,
Bad year for game show hosts last year
Yeah,
in terms of dying.
and also in terms of very old game show hosts.
Well, yeah, I guess that probably helps you die easier
Mm-hmm.
if you're very old.
Right.
But Regis, who I guess he was a morning talk show host, he had Regis and Kathy Lee at this time, which would eventually become Regis and Kelly. But he was most known for that, a friendly, likable guy. But now I think his legacy is really Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, his lasting impact on our society, on who we are as people. He's changed us.
Well, I think it depends on how old you are. If you're in your 40s or 50s now, he probably will forever be cemented as, talk show host Regis. But he came into my life as Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I don't care about his early morning talk show days. To me, they didn't even exist, and he will forever be Who Wants to Be a Millionaire host.
I think even for those 40 to 50-year-old type of people who were familiar with his morning show, or more familiar than us, I think this has transformed him. And the funny thing is, he only did this for 3 years. It was August 1999 until June 2002 that this show aired on ABC.
Okay.
And so the way the game worked in both the British and American versions, where there were 15 questions of increasing difficulty with 4 multiple choice answers. You started at a low dollar value with easy questions like $100, $200, $300, $500. $1,000 was the 5th question, escalating until the 10th question was $32,000, and the 15th question was $1 million. So the escalation really goes up the higher you go, because the first 5 questions goes from $100 to $1,000. And then the final 5 questions goes from $32,000 to $1 million. So you get a $900 increase versus a $968,000 increase.
Yes. That's how compounding interest works. So they wanted to mirror.
Yep. It's
kind of like a 401k savings.
It's kind of an
situation.
allegory for making sure that you invest when you're young.
Right.
Teach the people at home. You can really make the bulk of your retirement money in your 20s if you're just putting away a good amount. That compounding interest, by the time you're 65, it's really going to be worth something. So that's a note to all of our young listeners at home. Please invest your money in a stable 401k plan.
Well, no, I would say invest your money in GameStop and Bitcoin right now would probably be your safest.
I would,
with the least amount of volatility in it.
Yeah, those are probably the safest. Bitcoin's been going great recently, by the way, making up some of my GameStop losses. Anyway,
yep.
The show had these 15 questions. Of course, this was an interesting game show in that there was only one contestant at a time. Most game shows, obviously, there are people competing against each other. Mm-hmm. There's one contestant at a time. However, there are 10 people at the very beginning that compete in the fastest finger competition, in which they are...
That's what it's called?
The fastest finger, yes.
Okay.
It didn't have the same connotation back then as it does now.
Got it.
Fingering hadn't been invented yet. But they would be given a question, put these 4 things in order, either largest to smallest, chronologically, whatever. And they had to put them top the 4 things in order as quickly as possible. And whoever got it right and in the shortest amount of time was the next contestant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So you could unfortunately be one of those 10 people there and never get on the show, which would suck.
That's terrible. But you get a great view of the show.
You do get a great view.
The back
You're right
of the
there.
person's head the whole time.
Yeah. So you get on the show. You've got these 15 questions. Once you get to $1,000 and $32,000, the aforementioned 5th and 10th questions, your money is guaranteed at those dollar values. So if you miss a question, if you miss the $16,000 question, you still win $1,000. If you miss the $500,000 question, you still win $32,000. Mm-hmm. And at any point in time, even after you're asked the question and seen all the answers and have used your lifelines, you can decide to walk away with the dollar value of the last question that you answered correctly. So, the $500,000 question, I feel like, is a place where a lot of people ended up getting stuck, because the drop from $500,000 to $32,000 is so massive.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, going from the 500 to the 1 million is basically the same as dropping from 500,000 to 32,000. It's only a $32,000 difference, you know?
Yeah.
So I think if you don't know the $1 million question, you're going to walk away there. I don't believe that in the history of the show, at least the US version, nobody has ever missed the $500,000 question. Everybody has either walked away or correctly answered the $1 million question.
Okay.
At 500,000.
Yeah.
So the first, there are 3 lifelines as well, which we haven't mentioned yet. This was a huge impact on the culture, the lifeline. I feel like we've got people give their answer, and then the host, Regis in this version, Chris Tarantino in the UK version, would say, "Is that your final answer?" That has become a huge part of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your final answer? And by the way, while we're going good, would you trade your wife for $1 million?
And it's so weird because the second you stop talking about Millionaire, that's these loud poppings in my headphones.
That's weird.
And okay, you're back.
Oh, wow. Okay. I guess we'll just go ahead and move on.
Sure.
Is that your final answer?
I mean, I love that part of the show. Yeah. Have you talked about the final answer yet?
Yeah, so that's the final answer. And there were the 3 lifelines. Those 3 lifelines were 50-50, which the computer, quote unquote, at random eliminates 2 of the 4 potential answers, leaving you with the correct answer and only 1 other incorrect answer to choose from. There is the Ask the Audience, in which everybody in the audience has a little machine at their chair where they put in what they believe the answer is, and you get the polling results of what all the audience members put.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, there's the Phone a Friend, in which you get on the line with a friend that you've chosen beforehand. I think you can have like 5 people that you have on standby, and you choose whichever one based on, you know, maybe who knows most about American history, if that's the type of question that it is. And that person, you have 30 seconds to read them the question and discuss what they believe the answer is. And to me, in these early days, and remember 20 something years ago, the internet was significantly different than it was today. It was, first of all, much slower.
Yeah.
And second of all, search results didn't work as well as they do today.
Yeah, because they hadn't spied enough on American citizens yet, and now that they have collected so much
data, they've collected all of your data, so they know exactly what you're asking before you ask it.
Right. And then they sell you something before you are able to ask the question.
Right. But you could definitely sense that in a lot of these phone a friends, the person on the other end of the line was trying to look this up on a computer as quickly as possible. Typing in keywords, and because they would be repeating the question over and over as if that was going to help them know the answer.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you said the president with the 31st president who enacted the blah blah blah. I think it was Truman. So and they would always ask like, how confident are you? And then always say like, 70%. I'm 70% sure. Like, what a weird answer to give.
Yeah.
But those were the 3 lifelines. You could use them at any time. You could use all 3 of them on one question if you wanted to, but each of them was a one-time use only. Once you use them, they were gone. And once all 3 were gone, you are on your own. You either have to get the question right or walk away or miss it and drop down to wherever you were before. But obviously there are certain points where like, so if you've won $32,000, you have a free guess at this point, basically, because you can't win less than $32,000. So at least on the $64,000 question, you're always going to guess because it doesn't matter if you miss it or not.
Right. Yeah.
So that was the key to getting to 32,000. That was a big milestone in terms of success in the game, basically. And this was incredibly highly rated when it came out. Like I said, it made a huge impact on the culture. It kind of really brought game shows back to the forefront of our culture. It was huge for the Game Show Network, even though the show was airing on ABC, because people were interested in game shows big time again. I know the Game Show Network like credits it with a lot of their success in the early 2000s. It also kind of, it was interesting because something about the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire adaptation in the US, which is different than most game shows or just TV programs in general that are purchased for rights in other countries, is that there were very, very strict rules in terms of the set had to be built the same as it was in the UK version. The theme song and stuff had to be the same as it was in the UK version. For every single country that made a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, they had to recreate the same set, the same music, everything. So it was all the same. Whereas normally they kind of will flavor it a little more towards what they think their local audiences will like better. But this was all basically the same. It was the set for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is the most recreated set in the history of television because of that.
Wow.
And the song, normally a game show has a theme song, kind of plays once at the beginning or commercial breaks or things like that. This had music throughout, which was very impactful on setting the tone of the game and kind of the way we watched it as viewers. And as the questions got more difficult, the intensity of the music progressed as well. So we had this whole soundtrack of these kind of created to match the beating of a heart, kind of to bring that intensity to it. And that was something that we hadn't seen before in game shows. It was kind of fun, interesting, or straight and boring, basically. And this was intense.
It was kind of like when you are, what do you have, like a minute left in your Mario level, and the music picks up and starts to play a lot faster.
Or when you when you're underwater in Sonic and you're running out of breath, and it's going to start going faster and faster.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was where Who Wants to Be a Millionaire got most of their cues from Sonic and Mario.
Yeah.
And like I said, this was repeated country to country as this game show, because of course it was wildly popular, was adapted in, dozens and dozens of other countries. And it was all very standard, all very much the same, aside from, the local hosts and contestants and the questions probably with a bit more of local knowledge. Because, if you're asking people in India questions about U.S. presidents. That's too difficult.
Right. It was like Slumdog Millionaire had questions that pertain to his life.
Right. It was, and in fact, all of the questions in the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire pertained to Dev Patel's life. Was that the guy's name?
I don't know. No.
But that is pretty much how it worked, and it is also because of this. It's the only game show music that has an ASCAP license, the American Society for Composers, Authors, and Publishers, or something like that, because it's the only like game show score that is used in the way that it's used.
Okay.
So that was pretty interesting. November 19th, 1999 is a big date in history. And that's because that was the first winner of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Is this the guy that worked for the CIA?
Did he work for the CIA? I know his name was John Carpenter.
Yeah, and he had glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget this guy. I think I was watching live when it happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was big news. I think they promoted it in advance so, more people would tune in to see the first $1 million winner. I am not positive, but I think they at least strongly teased it so people would tune in. And John Carpenter was his name. He made it all the way through to the $1 million question without having used a single lifeline. He still had all 3 lifelines remaining. He was asked the question. He said, "I'd like to phone a friend." Regis asked who he'd like to call. He said he'd like to call his dad. So they got his dad on the line. Regis said, "Oh, we've got your son John here, and he's on the $1 million question. He needs your help." "Oh, all right, here he is. Your time starts now." And John said, "Hey, Dad, I'm just calling you to tell you that I just won $1 million."
Yeah.
And then he said, "Because the answer is blah, 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 final answer." I think it was Richard Nixon was the final answer.
Oh, he worked for the IRS.
IRS. Oh.
And at the time, first of all, that's the most baller move in the history of anything.
Oh, so baller.
And at the time, I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I knew it was a baller move when I was younger, but also I was like, oh, that's sweet. He's calling his dad. And now I'm like, what if his dad was like, "You're not going to be anything when you grow up,"
and he was just rubbing it in his dad's face. It wasn't like a celebratory moment. He hadn't talked to his dad in 20 years before that point. He's like, "Hey, Dad, I'm just calling to let you know that I won $1 million, and you're not getting a fucking cent, you piece of shit, you alcoholic motherfucker, going to buy cigarettes and never coming back."
Yeah. But they cut that part of it out.
Well, okay, it was broadcast TV.
Right. It's a similar situation to here. Our mics, Baker's mic specifically, keeps cutting in and out. And it was just a situation where they had to.
Oh, is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said, "Hey, Dad, I'm just calling to see, would you trade Mom for $1 million?"
Yeah. And the dad kept saying, "I can't hear you." And he's like,
What?
"I'm not going to answer this question until you answer this for me."
And so yeah, he was the first person to win $1 million, the most famous person to win $1 million. Like I said, he had that iconic phone call to his dad that made it way cooler. I think probably some people think that was lame and douchey. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the best way. I mean, yeah, the only time you use that is to let someone know you're about to win $1 million. There's no other baller way. And because you can't.
So you don't want to ever use the phone a friend?
You can't do 50-50 and be a baller. Regis, I'd like to 50-50 it, but guess what? I'm going to answer it before you 50-50 it. That would be kind of cool, but not as cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll ask the audience, I mean, what's the baller move on that?
I don't think there is one. I think you're right. The only thing you can do as a baller move is phone a friend. And I wonder if he had some really difficult questions that he wasn't sure of the answer to, but he had planned this whole thing in advance. So I'm going to get to $1 million. I'm going to call my dad. So he was like, "Fuck, I really wish I could call my dad right now, but I've got to save that until my bragging montage at the end."
Right.
So he was just guessing on half of the questions instead of using those lifelines, just to savor this one delicious moment.
I think I figured out a baller move to use with the ask the audience, poll the audience. So you poll the audience. You go, Regis, I'm not entirely sure. I'd like to poll the audience, and you poll the audience, and then you get the the bar chart, the very complicated bar chart graph of the percentage of people that answered which answers. And you go, okay, who raise your hand if you answered A, C, and D, and all the people raise their hands, and you know the answer was B, and you go, you are all retarded.
Wow.
And then you answer the question correctly.
That's a little different baller move.
And he's like, I want all people that answered B to look around. These people are stupid. Do not trust them. And then
you are their overlords,
right? And what if like a couple was there, or like a family was there?
And they have to get divorced and split up.
Yeah. You have to divorce your family.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be baller. So like I said, this aired for 3 years on ABC. It then from 2002 to 2019 had a syndicated daytime version. This was where more than 3,000 episodes happened. It was originally hosted by Meredith Vieira from The View. And I think she was on The Today Show or something also, or Good Morning America. I think she did it until around 2009 or 10. And then it was taken over by Cedric the Entertainer. And I've got a dog barking at some cars passing by in the background. So it was taken over by Cedric the Entertainer, then Terry Crews, and then Chris Harrison from The Bachelor, who's in some trouble right now. And then it was revived. So it ended in 2019. It was revived much later in 2020 on ABC again, now as basically a celebrity charity show hosted by Jimmy Kimmel. So on this most recent version, it's had 2 seasons now. They've all been celebrity contestants playing for a charity. And they had previously done celebrity episodes playing for charities in the past. Yeah. But now that's all the show is, basically. There's no regular people competing.
Do you think this is a ploy to get people interested again, or is this the set standard now moving forward?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, it was obviously successful enough to get a second season. I think the second season aired October through December of last year. Yeah. But I don't know if it'll come back in with the regular contestants again or not.
Like you can only give so much money to charity. I mean, I'm not going to give a shit after season 3. Like,
wow.
Oh, this charity won money. Great. I mean, I don't,
but it's all different charities. Everybody's playing for their own specific charity.
Look, it's either Susan Komen or get the fuck out. That is how I live my life.
Wow. That's a controversial one. A lot of people don't support the Susan Komen and the Race for the Cure and stuff like that.
Right. Because there are lobbyists in Washington that want you to get cancer and make you think that cancer's good. And I get it. That's a controversial topic.
So that's why it is, because there are people that are pro-cancer?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't realize that. I guess I just never really looked into it that much. Is it like the same
people? It's the same people
as...
Exactly. It's the same anti-vaxxers.
Okay. Anti-vax, pro-canc.
Anti-vaxxers, it's a little known fact, is they actually believe that viruses are good. It's not that vaccines are bad.
Oh,
it's they want the viruses to spread.
We need to cull people. We've got too many.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes some sense. In addition to these versions of the show, the syndicated version, the ABC version, the celebrity new version with Jimmy Kimmel, where he and his friends just jerk each other off about how cool and rich and famous they are. There was also at Disney World a version called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Play It. And they ran shows throughout the day, which if you were at the Disney park, you could attend as an audience member. And they would do a fastest finger, but all audience members participated. And the person with the correct answer in the fastest time then got to be the contestant on the show. And
wow.
Everybody is playing along all throughout. So you've kind of got your answer pad and you're answering and getting your own individual score as time goes, just for, posterity's sake, so that you're playing and participating. But the person who is competing on the show, obviously you're not actually winning $1 million in Disney World version of the show. But they did have the 50-50 and the Ask the Audience that would show what everybody in the audience had guessed. And instead of Phone a Friend, there was a Phone a Complete Stranger, in which they had another, they call them cast members at Disney World, the employees, in which a cast member had a phone outside in the park, and they would just flag down a random person walking through the park who you would ask the question to. I did attend this one time, and I didn't win the fastest finger thing, so I didn't get to compete, but I did witness it, and it was pretty cool. And instead of $1 million, I think you won a Disney cruise if you got to the $1 million question.
Okay, so you won $300.
A Disney cruise for 4. Also, a Disney cruise is not going to be $300. This is not Carnival. This is Disney. Okay.
Rank your top 3 cruise lines from trashiest to slightly less trashy.
Okay, Carnival's the trashiest for sure.
Why is that?
It's the cheapest. I've been on 3 or 4 Carnival cruises in my life, and
so not that trashy, because you went on one and then said, I'll go on 2 more.
So here's what happened. So my family, when I was about 17 years old or so, my family booked a Carnival cruise for a family spring break vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And we all went on this, and we got off into, the ocean, and the engine broke. And so for 5 days, we just floated around the Gulf of Mexico and then drifted back to Galveston, Texas. And so they, we were supposed to be it's a boat. It's supposed to take you places. And so we never got to any of those places. And so I think they gave us 50% of our money back and then 50% off your next cruise.
Okay.
So then, a year later, my family decided to use that 50% off the next cruise to go on another family cruise vacation. So we did it again. We actually went to places this time, but it was still just okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I graduated college and, was poor, Erica and I, now my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and our friend and his girlfriend at the time, we, as a graduation celebration, went on a Carnival cruise.
So at this point, it was a 50-50 shot that this cruise was going to break down in the middle of the ocean, and you thought, I like those odds.
Yeah, I mean, for a 5-night vacation for $500-$600, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we tried it. We didn't break down that time. We made it home safely, and it was a fine experience with mediocre food and activities and a lot of type of people that I just don't want to be around in general. So I'm going to say that's the trashiest cruise line.
Okay.
I guess, and that's the only one I've been on, so it's hard for me to judge. I would guess Royal Caribbean would be the second trashiest because it's the one I hear the second most about. But I think it's supposed to be a little nicer than Carnival.
But they have royal in the title.
Yeah, Carnival versus royalty, I think you can kind of see the balance there. But I don't know. I imagine most of those Mexican cruises and Caribbean cruises have got to be pretty similar, except for the really expensive ones where you've got your own personal chauffeur holding your hand through everything that you do.
Holding your hand?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Just as a comfort mechanism. to guide you.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like a spirit guide, but more of a literal guide that you hold on to.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how I judge the cruises, and I think Disney Cruise is pretty middle of the road in terms of
Wait, what was your
expense.
number one least trashy?
Disney, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you could win that Disney Cruise. This no longer exists. It's now a Toy Story ride where it used to be. But it was a fun, cool little thing. And throughout the history of this show, we talked about the 3 lifelines. Those have changed a bit over time. There have been several other lifelines that you're probably not super familiar with over the course of the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a +1 where you can invite a friend on stage to help you. There's been Ask the Expert, where instead of phoning a friend, you basically get one person that they consider an expert that you can call. They're in the newest version with Jimmy Kimmel, instead of Ask the Audience, because of COVID, there's no audience. There's Ask the Host, and you just talk it over with Jimmy Kimmel.
That sounds like a terrible plan.
I mean, at least there's another brain on it, I guess. There's a double dip where you can guess twice if your first one is wrong.
Ooh, I like that.
So in the syndicated version from like 2010 to 2015, instead of the mountain or ladder of money that you're climbing up, for the first like 10 questions, it's random difficulty questions worth random money in random orders. So you might get like the $64,000 question first, and it's kind of difficult. But there is a jump the question, so you can just skip that question and go on to the next one. There's a switch where you could switch the question for a new one. So there was
like
some
same amount of money.
Yeah,
just a different
question for the same difficulty. So there was definitely, some different lifelines throughout. I think the 3 classic ones are the only ones that I give a shit about. That's all that matters to me.
Rank the lifelines from ones that you don't give a shit about to the ones that you give a shit about the most.
There's a lot of ranking from worst to best going on right now. I'm going to say all of them I don't give a shit about, except for the 3 that I do give a shit about.
Okay.
That's my philosophy on it.
Those 3, rank those from 3 to 1.
Okay. I would say number 3 is the 50-50, because people would always... Yes, here's why. People would always be like, I think it's either pelican or ostrich. I think it's one of those two. Let me do the 50-50. And then the 50-50 comes, and the 2 remaining are pelican and ostrich. So you've been fucked.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You said at the beginning, and I know that they probably claim this as well, that the computer
randomly
removes 2 random ones. And it's bullshit, because every single time the person talks it out, it is those 2 that they're trying to decide between.
Yeah.
So I agree. I don't put that one third, but I agree it's bullshit. I would say poll the audience is the biggest waste of time.
See, I like that one because you get I don't know how large the audience is exactly, but I like getting a good sample size. Over the course,
you're also getting a sample size of people that think it's a fun time to wait outside for 2 hours, get let into a stage, and then be told to shut up and don't say anything for an entire hour.
I mean, that's true, but I also think of it as like, okay, so if you've got like a family that are there and, one of them knows the answer, I think they'll be like, oh, it's B. And everybody in the family will put B maybe. So like based on the fact that there's one smart person, I'm getting, 5 Bs in the mix that are helping me. I don't know. I feel like when I see those, the majority of the time the audience is correct.
Okay.
So I kind of like that one. And phone a friend, just due to the flexibility of it, the baller potential that you can possibly have in different ways that you can use it, in addition to just getting help from the answer. I think you got to rank that number 1.
Yeah. Or like, what if you know that you're about to get this wrong, so you order a pizza to your hotel room so it'll be there
to console you?
Leave the show.
That would, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to phone a friend. Pizza Hut.
Your friend is Pizza Hut?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No one out pizzas him. So this show, like I said, it's gone for 21 years. There have been $12 million winners on the US version of the show. What's crazy to me is that, so in the celebrity version, just last November, David Chang won $1 million for his charity. He was the first celebrity to do so, although in the original run, there was a celebrity episode in which Norm Macdonald was on the $1 million question. By the way, funniest person in the world, Norm Macdonald, was on the $1 million question, knew the answer or thought he knew the answer, and he was like, I think it's blah, 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 blah. And Regis was like, are you sure about that, Norm? And he was like, I don't know. That's just what I think the answer is. And Regis was like, well, remember, if you miss this, it's $32,000. This is $500,000 for the charity that you're playing for. And he was like, well, I don't know. I think that's what the answer is. What are you telling me? And Regis was like, I'm just telling you that if you miss it, it's $32,000, not $500,000. And he was like, okay, well, I think it's that. But I guess if you're telling me it's not, then I'll walk away. I guess I'll walk away. Final answer. And it was the thing that he thought it was. And he thought that Regis knew that he was wrong and was telling him, like, don't piss away $500,000 for this charity.
Yeah.
So and he was upset that he thought he was, he knew the $1 million answer. But like I said, nobody's ever missed the 500,000 or nobody's ever missed the $1 million question before. So he walked away at the 500,000. But what was interesting to me was this show has been on in syndication, like I said, from 2002 to 2009. The last $1 million winner was 2003 before David Chang last year.
So they made it a lot harder.
I guess. Or they just put dumber people
are
on.
getting dumber.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe us as a society are getting dumber because we're sitting down, looking at our phones when we could be looking up at the sky and wondering, how does the sky work? And then going back down to your phone to research it instead of starting in the down position.
How does the sky work? But that also reminds me of, speaking of Norm Macdonald, of his infamous Saturday Night Live monologue. Of course, he was a cast member on Saturday Night Live who was fired. And then a year and a half later, he had Dirty Work, a classic 90s comedy, coming out. And he was asked to host the show. And in his monologue, he said, I was fired on account of they didn't think I was funny. And now here I am a year and a half later, and I'm hosting the entire show. So I thought, wow, how did I get so funny in the last year and a half? But then I realized I didn't get funnier. The show just sucks now.
Oh, man.
So anyway, yeah, I think they probably just put a lot of more dumber people on the show. Again, it was more daytime show. They can't be giving out $1 million all the time on a show that's airing 5 days a week. But yeah, from 2013 until just last year, there were no $1 million winners. This, of course, is not a show without controversy. Going back to the UK for one. Well, first of all, their first $1 million winner, the episode aired on ITV. This was the channel that it was on, in competition with a series finale of a very popular BBC show. And so there was a lot of discussion over there about, okay, is it a coincidence that the first $1 million winner is airing up against this other show that's supposed to be getting very high ratings because it's the finale of this beloved series? And there were people that thought they kind of rigged it so that they had $1 million winner on that episode, or they at least rigged the airing of the episodes so that would air up against another big hitter. So there was some controversy there. I don't think anything was ever proven. There was a big controversy in 2001 when a guy who was in the British military named Charles Ingram competed on the show. And he won the £1 million. He wanted to be a millionaire. It was phenomenal. Everything was great and happy and amazing. And then in the subsequent days, as the producers were reviewing the footage, they noticed that on both the $500,000 and $1 million question, it was a little fishy that he was like, I think it's blah, blah, blah. I really think it's blah, 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 blah. And then he was like, you know what? No, actually, no. I think it's this one. Final answer. On both of the $500 and $1 million questions, he did that. He seemed to be going towards the wrong answer and then changing his mind and going towards the right one. And in both instances, one of the other guys who was in the fastest finger chair, a guy named Tequin Wittock? Wittick? I don't know how you'd pronounce it. Seems too British for me. But anyway, that guy coughed after Charles Ingram gave the incorrect answer. And then he changed his answer.
So it was a Houston Texans situation.
Houston Astros, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. He was banging on trash cans. And also, I think on the 32,000 pound question, his wife coughed from the audience when he said the wrong answer. And so there was this investigation done. They told them, you're not getting the money. And all these three people had charges brought against them in court and were found guilty of like manipulating a game show fraud or whatever. I don't think any of them got any jail time or anything like that, but they were all found guilty and got suspended sentences, I think.
How do you prove that? How do you say you knew the answer, so you coughed? You'd be like, I coughed once during the show. What are you going to do?
Yeah, so the Tequin Wittock guy said that he'd had hay fever or something and all this stuff. He was sick. But then he was also the next contestant on the show, and he didn't cough once during the entire time that he was competing. So there was like I said, there was a huge investigation. There were court proceedings done. There was a movie that came out last year in the UK called Quiz about it, because everything's a quiz there. To us, a quiz is a bad thing. It's something that you're unprepared for in school, if you're me.
Yeah.
Or you probably. In the UK, everything's a quiz. It's a quiz show. It's a pub quiz instead of bar trivia. They've got pub quiz. So this show or this movie was called Quiz. I want to check it out. I think it's got Michael Sheen in it, who, he's good.
Oh, yeah. He always plays a real creepy guy, and he does a really good job at it.
He's good. Yeah, he was really funny in 30 Rock when he was one of Liz's boyfriends. But anyway, that was one of the big controversies from this show that originated in the UK. There have also been a couple other controversies. There was somebody who gave the wrong answer, but they said it was the correct answer, and people like wrote in afterwards, and they were like, it was in a set of tennis, what is the fewest number of strokes a player can have to win a set? And they said, okay, you need 6 games to win a set, and you need, so it's 15, 30, 40 game, so four points to win a game. So 6 times 4, 24. You can get,
right.
So 24. And they accepted that as the correct answer. That guy moved on, etc. But then people online said, well, you alternate serves per game. So you serve 3 games and get 4. That's 12. And then the other person who is serving can double fault on every serve, hit every serve out, and you never hit the ball. So you can have 0 there. So the answer is actually 12. Millionaire came out and said, yeah, we were wrong. The answer is actually 12, but we're going to give this person the money that they won because we were wrong also.
Yeah, that would suck if they're like, you're right. Hey, guys, everybody is right, and we were wrong.
We got to take your money back.
And so we need that money back. Thank you.
And that guy had already used that money to pay for his wife's cancer treatments and everything. So she's dead now. In the U.S.,
well, I mean, so he didn't pay for the right cancer treatments then.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the anti-cancer lobby.
Anti-cancer, yeah.
Yeah. He was an anti-cancer. In the U.S., there was a guy. So this is probably the biggest blunder of all. There's a guy named Ed Tutant who was competing in the U.S. version on the $16,000 question. He was asked, scientists in England recently genetically modified what vegetable so that it glows when it needs water? And the choices were potato, tomato, celery, or carrot. He didn't ask the audience. The audience said tomato. He went with tomato. And it was incorrect. It was potato, and he lost. He went home. He started researching this on the internet. And he found out that, so the question said, scientists in England recently genetically engineered, blah, blah, blah. This genetic engineering of a potato to glow was actually done in Scotland, which, while in the UK, is not in England. And also a scientist at Oxford, which is in England, was working on genetically modifying a tomato to glow at the time. So he emailed them and was like, hey, you said I was wrong, and I don't think I was wrong. Your question is wrong. And so they came back and they said, okay, yes, you're right. We are going to have you back on the show. And starting at $16,000 with a different question, and we will give you your Ask the Audience back that you used on that question.
Wow.
And he then got every single question right and won $1 million. Actually, this was a point where they were adding $10,000 to the jackpot for every person that didn't win, for every contestant that didn't win. So he won $1.8 million.
Wow.
So he had lost he'd won $1,000 originally, and then protested and came back and won $1.8 million.
Yeah. Again, compound that interest.
That's what compound interest is all about. Here's how you turn $16,000 into $1.8 million. Ed Tutant.
$1 million, yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty crazy. One of the $12 million winners in history originally didn't win and came back on a technicality of them flubbing a question. And he came back and won.
That's awesome.
So I think that's what life is all about. Getting by on technicalities, finding all the little ways you can screw over the guys who didn't write their legal copy properly. Make sure you read that fine print. Figure out how to get that million. Get that bag, playa.
Yeah, that's good advice for everybody. And then make sure you carry that philosophy into your life later in life when you're rich, and make sure you find as many loopholes as possible to get out of paying for taxes.
Yeah, that is important. Especially if you're going to win $1.8 million, you're going to be taxed.
Yeah.
Who is the great philosopher Kanye West said, she gonna leave with half after you get divorced, you know? So.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
See,
and now that he's getting divorced, she is gonna leave with half at least.
Yeah, I think but who has more money?
I mean, I would say probably Kanye, but I bet it's closer than I think.
Right, it's like the same thing with like Tom Brady and Giselle. Like I think she's super super rich also, independently. But anyway, that's kind of some of the controversies that have existed on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and in the Kardashian West household.
What do you think Kanye's net worth is?
I would guess that his net worth is somewhere around $500 million.
That's cute that you think that, because it's $1.3 billion.
$1.3 billion?
Uh-huh. And then how much, as of October 2020, Kim Kardashian is estimated to be worth $780 million.
What does that make you want to do to yourself?
I mean, I'd have to turn the camera off first, but what do I want to do? I mean, it's fine. I imagine that a lot of stress and legal bullshit comes along as baggage with that much money. But
so what you're saying is, who wants to be a millionaire? Who wants to be a millionaire?
Yeah, who wants to be a millionaire? I do freelance work that takes me a lot of time for an extra $4,000 a year. So I'm good.
What, when you come up with pranks for YouTube channels?
Specifically so that they get arrested, yes.
Or murdered because some prank YouTube channel guy just did a prank that you wrote for him, which was
that is not true.
The prank was,
not write that.
I'm gonna pretend to armed rob somebody for my YouTube video,
Mm-hmm.
and then he did it, and then the person, the victim of his hilarious hijinks and prank, happened to be packing heat and shot him, and he dead.
Yeah, I did not write that. I do think it is a great prank, and I think that all the prank shows.
You just didn't write
all
the twist.
shows,
that twist at the end
right.
of him getting shot in the head and dying.
Yes.
Which was marvelous. Shyamalanian, honestly. Twist there.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where, like, listen, nobody deserves to die. But some people are asking to die. And I think that's what that guy was doing.
Mm-hmm. So you don't think Stalin and Hitler deserve to die?
I'm just saying they were asking for it. I'm just saying they were asking for it.
Yeah.
But this game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, as we wrap up here, like I said, it revitalized game shows in kind of the American subconscious. This led to game shows like The Weakest Link, which we've talked about previously, kind of following in its footsteps in terms of prime time popularity, in terms of us stealing ideas from game shows from the UK and just bringing them over here and doing the same thing pretty much. This was kind of a big boom for the Game Show Network. This kind of, the way it was set up in terms of the intensity and everything, kind of was the beginning of our obsession with reality TV. Because on the heels of this is kind of when we got shows like Survivor and Big Brother and things like that started kicking off, where it was the drama of everyday people that we can kind of relate to and edited in certain ways to heighten that drama. I think this was kind of where we were going as a society at the time. I think that's probably why we embraced this and then those as much as we did. This was a really, I think, important game show. That sounds really weird to say, but just in terms of like the media landscape, I think it changed things.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. I'm looking at when The Real World started, because
The Real World was early 90s for sure.
Yeah, 1992. It looks like.
Right, but
I just want to end this episode by saying, if you haven't, go out and watch The Real World Road Rules. I have been getting recommended clips on YouTube and just watching CT absolutely beast dominate in all of the challenges. And I think that it's really good to watch, because you can see what pre-workout steroids and cocaine can do to help you push your career forward in terms of being a reality star.
And like compound interest, that's an important lesson for kids today.
Absolutely. Both equally as important.
Agreed. So I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5 buzzers. I think.
Wow.
I think this is top 5 game show territory right here. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? What about you?
I mean, I want to give it a 5, but I also don't want to be a poser, so I'm going to give it a 4.95.
Okay. What takes away that 5/100th of a point?
So I think that instead of the fastest finger, you could make it sort of a Hunger Games situation, and the last person that survives of a life or death situation, that person gets to play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and that would elicit a 5.
So everybody else dies. So you survive, and now in addition to surviving, you can be a millionaire?
Correct. In order to blunt some of the emotional toll that will, take up a lot of real estate in your brain because you have killed many other people, they kind of blunt that a little bit by saying, okay, well, for your sacrifice and inevitable PTSD for the rest of your life, we'll go ahead and offer you some cash. But again, if you're stupid but strong, you probably don't do well on the trivia part, and you just have to live with the fact that you killed people to not win any money.
Okay, so let's say they bring this Hunger Games style fastest finger to life, and they've got, 5 or 6 people on this, and it's you and, 3 or 4 strangers and your wife.
Yeah.
Ooh. And so one of you has to live and compete to win $1 million, and one of you has to die. Would you kill your wife to try and win $1 million?
So here's what I would do, and I'm glad that you asked that because I could hear it clearly, and I acknowledged it when you first started saying it, so I'm going to run with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, and this is a very complicated plan, so stay with me here. I'm going to switch bodies with my wife, similar to how Vince Vaughn did in the movie Freaky.
Okay.
I am then going to start making out with Regis, and by me I mean me in my wife's body.
Right.
Regis will become distracted. He is the ultimate host. He is the one who does, he's the guy in Hunger Games with the blue hair. He's the guy in Gladiator with the thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay.
He's the ruler of this battleground. He's distracted because he's making out with my hot wife. Me, really.
Right.
I then kill Regis. And because of the rules of the game state, he or she who kills the host then assumes that job. So then I become me in my wife's body as Regis, the host.
Right.
And then I get my wife, because now I'm not a contestant anymore. I am the host. The host then, by default, my wife, who is in my body, by default wins the battle arena. She comes on, and then we play the show. So we both are able to survive. Unfortunately, Regis and the other contestants will die. But that's how I answer that question.
Okay. When you get into your wife's body, at what point do you play with your boobies a little bit?
I mean, first of all, I mean, that happens right away.
Okay.
But once you get that out, and I think that would be the case too. When you were younger, you'd be like, oh, dude, what would you do if you were in a girl's body? You'd be like, oh, don't play with boobs nonstop. I think that if you actually happened and we were able to do that, it would get old in like maybe a day.
Okay.
And then I would go on to playing with other people's boobies because I'm bored with mine at that point.
That makes sense. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, great answer. I think that makes sense in terms of, just really wrapping this entire episode together. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And, thank you for finally addressing the question that was on, I think, everybody's minds ever since.
Oh, that's what you were asking.
Yeah. Ever since we started talking about Grace Kelly, the Princess of Monaco.
Got it.
From High Society. Cole Porter, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Anyway, this has been just a remarkable episode of Come On Down, the game show podcast.
A remarkable episode that we just didn't do Make It Better because it was such a good episode.
I think we just did a Make It Better right there. I think the Hunger Games scenario, the booby playing, the wife swap, I think that's a Make It Better. I would watch that.
Okay, good.
And yeah, I think you can follow us on Instagram at Come On Down Show for more content like that. For any sort of body swap comedy stuff that you're looking for, we'll have it.
Yeah.
And you can email us at comeondownshow@gmail.com if you got any ideas to make it better. If you would trade your wife or anybody else in your life for $1 million, just let us know. Yeah. Until next time. We will see you guys later, and stay strong, fight, get that $1 million, make that money, Playboy, and one day you too can be a Kim Kardashian.
Right, and then just one last thing from me before we sign off. Remember, always, always, always.